Today we're going to be doing a quick lesson on foreign policy, and this will be the last lesson in this unit for the executive branch. So foreign policy is a nation's plan for dealing with other nations, and if you recall, the president's job to deal with other foreign leaders is his role as chief diplomat. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. All right, so you have goals. There are 4 goals. First goal being national security, which means to keep the country safe from harm. That is the most important goal. The president should never make a deal that might put Americans in harm's way. Second would be international trade, which promotes economic prosperity. So the president has a job to help make the country money. Now, we haven't actually had a budget where we've had a surplus since Bill Clinton had one during his first administration. Donald Trump talks a lot about bringing jobs back to America, ending some trade with other countries to benefit America. You'd have to do a little research to see if his claims are actually true or not, but it is the president's job. Number 3, promoting world peace. So that is the job of the American leader as a chief diplomat, again, going from place to place. You can make treaties with other countries, make executive agreements. We're going to talk about those in just a second. And the 4th being promoting democracy. Now, the 3rd and 4th often lead to what we call interventions. Those interventions are oftentimes military interventions. They typically start with an advisor from the United States showing up to help other governments show them how to run things, but then oftentimes it leads to military interventions. All right, there are also 5 tools or 5 categories of tools. So the first category of tools would be treaties and executive agreements. A treaty is a formal agreement between the governments of 2 or more countries. So the president would be responsible for negotiating treaties, but Congress would still have to the Senate would have to approve treaties with other countries. Remember, the Senate approves everything. But then the president can also negotiate executive agreements, which do not need congressional approval. And it's just the agreement between the president and the leader of another. Examples of treaties is the defense treaty between the United States, Canada, and nations of Europe like Great Britain and France. The president can also appoint ambassadors, and an ambassador is an official representative of a country's government. So hopefully the president, when appointing ambassadors, appoints someone who is familiar with the culture of whatever country they're an ambassador to, so that they understand what the best way to deal with another country would be as far as customs go. Every country is a little bit different. You don't want to do something that might offend another country and cause a conflict. All right. The United States also produces a lot of foreign aid. Foreign aid is money, food, military assistance, or supplies. And an example would be the Marshall Plan. So after World War II, the western half of Europe was pretty torn up from all the fighting. And the United States, in an attempt to limit communism from Russia, pumped a lot of money, a lot of assistance in rebuilding into Europe to try to help the people there, but also to try and help the stop for the spread of communism was an underlying thing. The 4th tool would be international trade. So you have trade sanctions, which is an effort to punish another nation by imposing trade barriers. So an example of a trade sanction would be like if the United States stopped buying coffee or banned the purchase of all coffee from a country like Colombia, whose largest legal export is coffee. But if you know anything about Colombia, you know they have a large heroin trade and a large cocaine trade. And America currently has a drug problem. So if you ban the import of coffee, what you're doing is you're affecting the economy of Colombia. And you could say something along the lines of, get your drug cartels under control, and then we will lift this sanction. An embargo is an agreement among a group of nations that prohibits trade with target nations, i.e., the United States embargo on Cuba. If you were to go to Cuba right now, it would look almost exactly like it did in the early 1960s when the United States put an embargo on people from coming in and out of Cuba. All right, then you have tariffs, which are taxes on imported goods. And the purpose of that is to make money for the country and also to try and promote the purchase of domestic goods, meaning goods made inside the country. So if, let's say, a Ford F-150 and a Toyota Tundra, one is Japanese, the Toyota is Japanese, the Ford F-150 would be an American-made car. If they both cost $20,000 to make and Ford sells their car for $30,000 so that they can make a profit, and Toyota wants to only make a profit of $10,000 as well, so both trucks are $30,000, then now you're choosing which one you like more. But if the country puts a tariff on the Japanese-made good of, say, another $10,000, now the F-150 is a little bit cheaper. So you're promoting people to buy the American-made product, which makes money for American countries. That's why oftentimes foreign cars are more expensive, because they have tariffs on them. Another tool of international trade would be membership in trade groups like NAFTA, which is the North American Free Trade Agreement, or the World Trade Organization, which is called the WTO. Both promote free trade in order to try and make money for not only America, but also some of our allies. And the last tool is military force, and that is pretty self-explanatory. We use our military all over the world. We have more military bases and a larger military budget than every other country in the entire world. All right, guys, that is all for today. If you have any questions, please send me an email. Let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer them.